Hello, teachers, parents, and educational leaders, and welcome to this episode of Breaking Down the B.E.S.T. Now, during this episode, you will get a peek into the members-only area where I have tons of resources to help you make math fun, make it click, and make it stick. There should be a link somewhere around this video where you can learn more. All right, now that we got that out of the way, let's get to it, and let's break down the standard. Welcome to Breaking Down the B.E.S.T, a video series dedicated to breaking down Florida's best standards for math. So grab something to write with and maybe even a snack. This looks good. And don't forget to put a smile on your face. There you go, I see you. And let's dive into today's best standard. Hey everyone, my name is Sarah McCarthy and I'm super excited that you are here joining me as we tackle this standard for today, which is MA.5.AR.2.1. All right, so this is a 5th grade standard that says translate, which means to rewrite, a written real world and mathematical descriptions into numerical expressions and numerical expressions into written mathematical descriptions. Whew, basically, we might be given a mathematical description and we'll need to translate it into a numerical expression. Or we might be given a numerical expression and we need to translate it into a mathematical description. What is a mathematical description? What is a numerical expression? Let me show you. So this right here, the expression 4 5/10 plus in parentheses 3 times 2, this is a numerical expression. It's an expression. It does not it has numbers and operations, a numerical expression. And the mathematical description would be this: 4 5/10 plus the quantity of 3 times 2. Now I'm going to point out right now that there is not just one way to write a mathematical description. There's a bird outside that wants to join in on the conversation apparently. There are a lot of different ways to write a mathematical description. So being able to write and being able to recognize a mathematical description is what is key here. Okay. By the way, this document that I'm marking up all over is not something that I created. This is something that the Florida Department of Education releases to the public, and I'm just showing you how I dissect this document that breaks down the standard in order to create your best resources for taking on the B.E.S.T for your membership. So let's keep going. Benchmark clarifications. We know that we're going to see some parentheses, whole numbers, decimals, and fractions. And it says within this benchmark, the expectation is not to include exponents or nested grouping. Exponents would be where you have this small little number right there. That means that you multiply your base that many times. This was something that we did in the Common Core standards that is no longer a part of the 5th grade standards. So no exponents. So when we get to PEMDAS, don't even worry about the E. You can put it there because eventually they'll see it in 6th grade. But this year, no. Nested grouping is when we have multiple sets, like grouping symbols nested inside of another grouping symbol. So this would not be okay. This would be nested grouping. But if we removed these brackets right here and had this expression in parentheses and this expression in parentheses, that's fine because they're not nested inside one of another. Okay. Some related benchmarks. There are a lot because we have a lot of different operations going on. So all of these NSO.1 standards are your place value standards. 5.NSO.2.3, adding and subtracting decimals. This is your pattern with an expression as a rule and measurement conversions right there. I think that there are a lot more, but honestly, there are, because you're working with so many different operations, there's a lot of standards that are being addressed and related here. Expression, it's just like this right here. There's no equal sign present, or we're not considering it. We're just considering this piece. Like we could have an equal sign here, and if this we would just be considering this piece of the equation. That is considered the expression. Numbers and operations, we're not really focusing on the equal sign. Vertical alignment, where are they coming from? Well, in 4th grade, they wrote equations with unknowns. And in 6th grade, algebraic expressions. This purpose and instructional strategies section, here are some things that kind of popped out at me. Again, we're translating between numerical and written mathematical expressions or descriptions. It says teachers should model how to translate numerical expressions into words using correct vocabulary. I would suggest making an anchor chart with all the different vocabulary that you could see, like the sum, the difference, the product, the quotient, half of, finding the difference of, subtracting this from that, with different examples that they can see, because this is a pretty heavy standard and requires lots of practice, lots and lots of practice. That they can be, we might be naming fractions and decimals. This includes that we're naming fractions and decimals correctly, and that our mathematical descriptions could be read different ways. Like this right here. These are all ways to take this numerical expression up here and write it as a mathematical description. There are 4 different ways right there that you could do it, which would be great for number talks. And just when you have your students solve a problem, one person might say, here's how I did it, but encourage other responses there too, because there's more than one correct way. And then that will help students to not be so stressed out and be like, oh man, I didn't get it that way. I don't even know how to do this. Instead, opening it up and allowing your students to present multiple ways that they solved it. And it's great for error analysis, which I mentioned down here. We'll talk more about errors in just a second. Again, they mentioned the exponents and the nested grouping. This right here is an example of that nested grouping that is not to be used for this. For the common misconceptions and errors, here they said that students can misrepresent decimal and fraction numbers in words, but in my opinion, for these types of problems, there are so many errors to be made here. So I would be super intentional about error analysis, having students, creating that safe place for students to share what they think, because the more that they can share and refine their thinking, the better they're going to be in analyzing other people's errors. I wrote my favorite no here because that's a great activity to encourage error analysis and highlight errors. Basically what you do for that is you say, okay, everybody solve this problem on a piece of paper or on an index card, and then you go around and you collect all of them, and then you make a yes pile and a no pile, and from the no pile you select what your favorite no is. So select a mistake that you know students tend to make a lot, highlight, and then rewrite the work that the student does. You don't need to name names of who solved that problem, but just showcasing that this was your favorite no, that you love this work because it's going to create a great discussion. So it's a really cool way to highlight error analysis. I just was marking what was wrong with this one, the 1/2 times 4. Right, and I think that's good. So this is just kind of what it looks like in action, translating this into a numerical expression. Here's the numerical expression, write it as a mathematical description. Here's the mathematical description, write it as a numerical expression. So you can see we're going back and forth in translation. Let's see what you have access to with your membership. All right, so here we are at the home page. Just click on Members Enter here, and then taking on the B.E.S.T. You might have to log in there. We want 5th grade. We want the AR strand, and we're scrolling down to 2.1. Interpret numerical expressions and mathematical descriptions. Okay, so here we have 2 video lessons. We have numerical expressions into mathematical descriptions and mathematical descriptions into numerical expressions. So Here's the numerical expressions, and then we'll translate all of those into, I think, 2 different mathematical descriptions there. And your students could even do more than that, more than 2 mathematical descriptions. Here's the mathematical description, and we're writing it as a numerical expression. So awesome stuff. Something that students tend to have a hard time with too is this plus the difference of 10 from 20, because it will be 20 minus 10 because we're taking 10 from 20. This from right here, that word from, tends to trip them up, and usually they'll write 10 minus 20. So really make sure that they have plenty of practice with that. Cool, so that's your bronze resource. If you have the bronze, silver, or gold, you have access to all those. If you have the silver or gold, you can click on this, and here are your silver resources. Got your video lesson that we just saw, and then some extra practice with the answer key. Another video lesson, extra practice. Here is your math mission. It says, Francesca says the numerical expression, right here, can be written as the quantity of 4 plus 2 multiplied by the product of 15 and 5. Explain Francesca's error, then write the mathematical description correctly. And then part 2, fill in the blanks of your own, then write a numerical expression to match the actually that should say, then write a mathematical description to match your numerical expression, but that's okay. I can go back in and fix that. Okay, then you have your math misconception mystery video. You just click play right there, and then I'll walk you through this whole process, walk your students through. They'll solve this problem either independently or with a small group. You can choose. Then they will watch as 4 characters, which are really just me dressed up in silly costumes. As these characters solve the problem, they'll notice that 3 make a mistake and only 1 character solves it correctly. Then they fill out this detective report stating who the most reasonable answer belongs to and helping the others, evaluating the work of the others there. These are super fun. The students love these. It really does create a safe place to have fun and just highlight a bunch of mistakes. So hopefully that'll trickle over into their own work where they aren't so worried about making mistakes, but that there's a lot to learn from them, right? Gold Plan members, you have access to a mini assessment that's aligned to the standard with a variety of question types. Cool. We also see some decimals and fractions here. Fractions, decimals, all kinds of good stuff. Got your answer key. This is where you can find this video breaking down the B.E.S.T for teachers. This is one of the perks of having a gold membership is that you get these videos ad-free. So no YouTube ads or anything like that, but you can also find them on YouTube. But really, one of the main reasons why people choose the gold membership is because of Mccarthy Math 155. The 155 stands for 155 grade level videos. Now you'll see here it says a daily math intervention aligned to the Common Core standards. So this was something that Florida was using before when we had the Common Core standards in Florida, but they are different now with the B.E.S.T standards, hence the creation of taking on the B.E.S.T. However, there are a lot that do trickle over. For instance, if you go here to numerical expressions, you'll see some, as we get into the order of operations, which I think is in the next benchmark, there's some extra practice here, video lessons for you to use, printables right there, all kinds of good stuff. Finding the mistake, I've seen problems like that, so that's a good place to go. So these videos right here, they are a little bit different than what's expected in the B.E.S.T standards, but they're still great practice. I would definitely check it out. Like add 7 and 21, double the sum, then subtract 1/4. It's very, very similar to what you're seeing with the mathematical descriptions. Okay? And even here, taking these and interpreting them as interpreting numerical expressions. Okay. So you have lots and lots of resources available with Mccarthy Math 155 and that gold membership. Okay, I think that's it. I hope that breaking down this standard helped it to make sense, that that you understand what is expected from your students, and that you can see with your membership that you have access to resources that have been strategically aligned to these standards. So I hope that that was helpful, and we're going to go ahead and close out this video lesson because I know that you're busy. So I want to thank you for all that you do, for being the leader that you are. Thank you for showcasing what your best looks like. That way students can look up to you and say, hey, I want to step into the best version of myself too, right? All right, everybody, thank you for joining me today, and I'll see you next time, okay? Bye. Okay, so I know that I just said goodbye for now, but I'm gonna ask you to do one more thing, okay? If you enjoyed this episode, please consider sharing it with your teacher friends or other leaders in education. That's how I get to continue doing what I love to do, which of course is supporting you all to the best of my ability. All right, for real now, bye.